what should customers be most excited about with Sitecore this next upcoming year?
There's absolutely no question it's Scrunch.
Okay.
It is the future.
Okay.
It is the future. Like traditional search is, even Google admits traditional search is over because it's all AI overviews, it's all AI mode. They've copied the chatbot style of the LLMs.
Welcome and thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Sitecore Water Cooler, the casual conversation podcast dedicated to covering all things related to Sitecore, including product updates, implementation insights, getting the most out of your Sitecore investment, and more. I'm your host, Jon Price, Vice President of AmericanEagle.com Sitecore Practice and 8-time Sitecore MVP at AmericanEagle.com. All right. Well, welcome everyone to a very special episode of the Sitecore Water Cooler. We have some wonderful guests for you today. I'm welcomed by CEO of Sitecore, Eric Stine, and CEO of AmericanEagle.com, Tony Svanascini. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John. Good to see you, Tony.
You too.
I don't frequently get described as wonderful, so I could get used to this, JP.
Yeah, you guys are welcome anytime.
Thank you.
So, a couple of fun topics to unpack with you guys today. Number one, the Sitecore AmericanEagle.com partnership and announcement taking over Sitecore Managed Cloud operations. Two, would love to unpack the Sitecore and Scrunch acquisition. We just had Matt Thompson on our last episode, so love to kind of continue on that. And then also, Sitecore's entering a new fiscal period, so always like to unpack the announcements coming out, what you can maybe tease us with, Eric, and then also both your outlooks over the next year with what's going on in digital and tech.
Awesome.
So that's what we have in store for you guys.
That's great.
So topic one, Sitecore Managed Cloud and AmericanEagle.com. So Eric, our partnership dates back about 15 years.
Yep.
It's been only growing stronger the past couple of years. We've been getting a lot of questions on, why did this happen? What does this mean for us as maybe as a Sitecore customer or future Sitecore customer? So I'd like to kind of hear in your words, what was some of the reasoning behind this acquisition, and what do some of the customers have to look forward to?
So I think it started for me a little bit over a year ago when I was fortunate enough to become CEO of Sitecore. One of the questions I was obsessed with was, what are we great at? Because what you're great at is where you should spend most of your time. You're going to get a lot of energy from it. You're going to feel successful at it. And I think the process of my first couple of months in the role was spending time with our leadership team, with our partners, with our customers, honing my perspective on what I thought we were great at to a collective sense of where does Sitecore really have the right to win every time. And one of the things that was clear to me was there is a very, very clear reason that since the day we came into existence, we were a partner first company. And that while we are expert in building the software lives inside the ecosystem of a customer's business processes, and we have never been the ones best suited to deliver that software. Certainly not on our own. And that sort of led me down the path of what services are we providing today that are just not our greatest strength, and where could I take the energy associated with doing something that I don't think we're great at, and give it to somebody who's truly great at it and go reinvest it in things that show up where we're great, which, and we'll talk about the Scrunch acquisition shortly and why that's an example of when you focus, you can go spend time on something else. And so I flew out here right before Christmas. I'm always in Chicago the days before Christmas, and I always get a great deal done. And this was the great deal of 2025. Tony and Mike and I sat down, and in 39 minutes, we had sketched out what the relationship would look like. And I'm a big believer, like when it's that easy, it's meant to be. As you said, you've been a partner for a decade and a half. You deliver a great customer experience. I believe right around the time we finalized the deal, I think you had like a 100 NPS, like just every single customer that you interviewed was a promoter for precisely this kind of service. And so for me, it was an absolute no-brainer that we should shift doing the work of this business to somebody who's truly expert at it. It's still our product, it's still our software, it's still our stack, but now it's operated by somebody who's much better suited to do it than we are.
I'm sure Tony would agree it was a great deal that got done. So
yeah, I didn't realize it was 39 minutes. I don't keep track of.
Oh, I called Dave Tilbury, and I said we just sketched this thing out in 39 minutes.
That's funny. Yeah, no, that's great. I remember it was at our old office, right down the street.
Down at the Lyric Opera. Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you want me to talk about just the history?
Yeah,
of
I mean, Tony,
hosting and everything.
Yeah, one thing that makes American Eagle, a bit unique is kind of our breadth of overall services. So maybe tell us a little bit about AmericanEagle.com's history in this kind of hosting.
Yeah, I'll try to go quickly because it is a long story, like most of my stories. But basically, we started with the internet back in '96 when it really started, and because we were in the networking business and putting in networks into companies and things like that, we understood computer networks and, back in the day, BBSs and communication between different servers with routers and stuff like that. So the first time we did a website, we hosted ourselves because we knew of no other way to do it. So we immediately got into the data center space, started building our own data centers, things like that. One of our first clients was actually the Big Ten Conference, which ironically we're working with again now.
Thanks to Sitecore. I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly. So, but because we had the Big Ten as one of our first clients, it really taught us on how to host a site that's getting a lot of traffic, a lot of eyeballs. You really can't have mistakes on it. You can't have downtime. It was, even back then, people expected it to be a premium experience. Fast forward to doing a lot of other college athletic sites, NFL sites, the White House site under President Obama that we launched, which was the biggest launch in the history of the internet. It really taught us how to, not just host websites, but also understand the application layer behind it. Yep. So, back in the day before Azure and AWS and the cloud and everything, people used to say, oh, just throw more servers at it or more bandwidth. It's usually not that. It's usually other things like the databases or, back then it was sharding, all kinds of things. So it's, we've got a lot of experience in that area. And then fast forward to the Sitecore days, as Sitecore went into Azure and the cloud, we noticed that a lot of the clients weren't necessarily happy with us because of things that were happening with the site on Azure and stuff. So we started offering like a managed service type of product on top of the regular managed service product. And that was for clients like Komatsu, United Airlines, things like that. And they realized we were really good at it because I don't know if there's that many companies that do what we do in terms of not just the managed services, but looking at that application layer. Sure. So we can tell a customer like United Airlines, hey, we think there's a problem in this area, look over there. And it might be something that we didn't even have anything to do with, but we've got the expertise to pinpoint it, which is really important when you've got a problem like that.
Sure. And so we're a few months in now with this agreement. We've taken over the operational layer. How do you think, how are things going, Tony? What are some successes that we're seeing so far?
I think it's going great so far. I think, a lot of the successes, we kind of figured we see some of them where people have a lot of technical debt. I mean, I think everybody does. I don't care how good you are or how new it is. And it just accumulates over time. And sometimes by getting a fresh set of eyes on things, we're able to identify those things quickly and have a solution for it because we've seen that before. And, one of the things we see with companies in general is that the IT departments can be great, but they only see their setup.
The realm, yeah. We
see, literally a couple of thousand different setups, and we've got a lot of people that have a lot of experience. Yeah. So they see ways to do things that are different than other people, and we can get things done faster. And all of a sudden they're like, my God, this is, we were dealing with this for 2 years and the problem's gone.
Sure. And having over 100 Sitecore experts doesn't hurt
Absolutely.
Others, so,
yeah, it is that combination of both, the people that are used to dealing with all kinds of issues and the Sitecore team that understands the nuances between the different versions and, the different products within Sitecore and things like that.
What do you feel are some of the biggest opportunities for a Sitecore Managed Cloud customer now? How could we help them?
Yeah, I think right now a lot of it is foundational and, really figuring out, do you have are you on the right version? Are there things that could alleviate all your problems just by getting to a newer version, specifically AI? Yeah. Looking at products like Content Hub, but really understanding, what are their main goals and everything, their objectives? What are their pain points right now? And can we fix those right away just by getting them onto a newer platform or a better foundation?
Sure. Love it.
So
I think for me, one of the things that's the most exciting about this, like I love giving people stuff, right? Do you remember, I'm going to use another Chicago reference because we're in Chicago. Remember when Oprah gave away the car and you get a car and you get a car and you get a car? I have that same level of excitement I did when we announced Sitecore AI. And all of a sudden, 300 plus customers found out that they were getting entitlements to Content Hub and Sitecore Search and CDP and personalization, not to mention our entire library of AI agents and flows for free. Like there's no fine print. There are no hidden licensing fees. And I completely appreciate that. On the walk over here, I was talking to a buddy of mine who works for a big technology company who told us like 2 weeks before they changed their policy that all of a sudden the thing they gave us like unlimited use for free, they were now going to charge us for token consumption with no way to like even project our costs on it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that, can I say sucks on? I'm going to go with it.
I've said much worse here, so.
I don't want to be that guy. I want to be that guy that shows up and finds that you're getting even more value out of the existing relationship. Yeah. And so to come to the table and say to hundreds of customers, we brought in a partner who is great at this, who's going to give you a better experience, whether you are running a series of racing clubs in Asia and you've got site traffic that spikes up and down based on the scheduling time of races that you don't control, but people are going to show up for it. Knowing the challenges that you might have created in scalability or performance for something that's very, very time sensitive, because when the race starts, you can't bet. Like knowing that's in safe hands to one of the biggest financial services and insurance brands in the world has their Canadian division on Managed Cloud, and their US business, which is their anchor, is now in the process of moving to Sitecore AI. And you want to know that when you have a brand with that level of cachet and they are about to launch a fairly lengthy project, because when you're a massive company and you have years of customization, that migration process is done with the care of the business in mind. You want to know that like one of their premier business units is going to be in safe hands until they're ready to move over. So that's what's really exciting for me. Yeah.
Just kind of picking out a few points, NPS scores, and the things, just overall customer satisfaction. That's probably why we partnered so well together. We share a lot of those same traits and what we kind of are going after aspirationally.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in the spirit of giving things away, or things that customers might be interested in with Scrunch. So a lot of, even just the Managed Cloud customers we've talked to, a lot of them are very excited to learn about what Scrunch is. We've even done some demos on Sitecore's behalf, or even with you guys so far. So let's maybe talk about Scrunch for a few minutes.
Sure, I'm not giving it away.
Yeah.
Let's just be clear about that.
Yeah, the one cool thing is that we were already using it before the acquisition. So when we saw that, we're like, God, that's great.
I brought your renewal in my briefcase.
That's good. Yeah, good.
We'll get right on that. So, so we have Matt Thompson on, VP of Partnerships for Scrunch last week. Super exciting to get his take on it. Eric would just love to hear your take on it specifically. Why go through this acquisition? What's the opportunity for Sitecore ahead now?
It's the new internet, like just full stop, right? 30 years ago, commercial internet, everybody's scrambling to create a website because you have to have a website. And over the course of a little bit more than half my lifetime, it's gone from innovative to infrastructure. Right. Mm-hmm. And we've all reached the point where our behavior has changed, and it's changed forever in terms of how we experience the internet. And so it was clear to us 14, 15 months ago when we saw web traffic going up, but website traffic going down, coupled with higher conversion rates when people did show up on websites, that the LLMs were playing a very, very unique role, and the top of the funnel was fully shifting to them. We are approaching the point where weekly usage of ChatGPT will surpass 1 billion users. And so for us, what was so excited about Scrunch, first of all, was all right there in the word. The entire marketing funnel is being scrunched. Search, AI search, is not about discovery. It is about discovery and awareness. It is about consideration, and it is about intent. The answer to the question and the recommendation that you get is driving much more highly qualified traffic to a smaller number of brands based on really those brands knowing how to do a couple of things. The first is who's showing up and are they in your target audience? What questions are they asking that should lead them to you, and where are they asking them? Because ChatGPT operates different from Perplexity, operates different from Claude, operates different from Gemini. Even the Gemini variants will give you different degrees of visibility and coverage across AI overviews, AI mode, the Gemini core, the core technology. And so we saw a lot of companies that could do sort of the who, what, and where. We saw a lot fewer companies that could do the why. Why am I showing up this way? Can you see the content below the waterline? Do you know which content I have in my library that I can deploy to fill a context gap? Because if there's a gap in context, I'm not going to get the recommendation I want. Is there content that's not readable because the agent crawls the page before the PDF has loaded, or there are too many tokens because of the video content? Understanding why you earn the recommendation, why you don't, was a big motivator for us. But the most important was how. How do I fix it? And Scrunch was the only company that we spoke to that fundamentally understood that a visibility layer or even a list of recommendations was useless if you couldn't optimize the content delivery network like Akamai or Cloudflare, at the CMS like Sitecore, like at the DAM like Sitecore. It was our opportunity to own the entirety of the stack between the Scrunch AXP and the partnership with Akamai to optimize or just create a technical version of the page at the CDN layer without disrupting the human experience. We found that with the entire solution, you now can create an internet that's meant to be read by machines and experienced by humans. And if you do it right, they will show up and they will convert at a higher rate.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a missing link. And I don't know of any other platform that has that, which is great. And that's why we were using it, because we do a lot of digital marketing and things like that. And right now, the hottest thing are companies trying to figure out AEO and GEO. And that's the number one question you get at a party or whatever, like, how's this changing everything? And up until that, really, there wasn't a system that had everything in one place where you can actually see, this is how I'm performing, this is how I should be performing, here are keywords that could work. We had that fitness client that came in that we were working with, and they wanted to rank for this one term and they couldn't, but Scrunch started showing, like, here are other things you can rank for, and this is the content you can deliver for it. And then we helped them come up with that content to make it happen. But it's before it was basically everybody was saying, just put as much content as you can, write it so it makes sense, and AI will pick it up, and it's like a black hole. And I think educating customers too on AI in general is going to be more and more important, which we're seeing all over the place. You put in one question and you'll get 5 different answers every time.
Yep.
And that's part of the nuance that nobody's really ready for. And a lot of times they're wrong answers. So you really don't. Before that, you really didn't know how you're going to get picked up. At least now you've got more of a scaffolding or something around it to work within.
And the one fun fact, Eric, you may not know of. So we did a big evaluation probably about 12 to 18 months ago. We were looking at a platform that could do what Scrunch could do, and Scrunch went outright. Many months before we ever knew about this acquisition and it being announced. So we were working with Scrunch for many months now. And it's a fantastic tool. So it's going to fit very well with your portfolio.
And the other thing I love about it, to the point that I made earlier, which you just underscored, so I'll just put a period on the end of that sentence, is it was a partner-friendly platform. They are not trying to be an agency. There are other folks in this space that will give you an insights platform or a reporting tool. But then they want to sell you their services because they're really interested in being an agency. We have no business being, like, I promise you, I've been here for over 2 years. We have no business being an agency. We wanted a platform that was designed for agencies to do what they do well, which is content strategy. We do content delivery and execution. Love it.
So piggybacking off of that, Sitecore is going into new fiscal year. We just closed out FY26. I couldn't help but notice there might be some new reshuffling. I see maybe a new DAM unit forming a little bit via LinkedIn. What are some of the big focuses that Sitecore also has on the horizon here?
Look, without dropping too many Easter eggs, I think that...
That's what we're here for, though.
Okay. In the spirit of dropping a couple of Easter eggs, we see it as our mission to shorten the distance between a brand's content and the commercial outcome they're trying to to create. Very simply, how does your content get you closer to the customer? Today, there are 3 layers to that stack. The CDN, which Scrunch optimizes for performance in AI search. The CMS, which we own and can be optimized based on the visibility and insights that come out of Scrunch with the integration that we have built and released last week on schedule. We said 30 days, and it was to the clock, 30 days. And the entire library of atomic content that will get deployed and reconfigured into custom web pages like the ones that Gemini builds, that will exist in social media, in email marketing, automation, that entire library of content that, as you know, we have deployed for Nestle and a million other brands, from small companies trying to manage their library of content to, like Nestle, some of the biggest companies in the world. Today, those exist as 3 layers. And for the foreseeable future, they probably will. But to the point that you latched onto a couple of minutes ago, Tony, we're the only company that can seamlessly unite the experience over all 3 layers. My experience of the market is customers generally come in through a primary door.
Yep.
For 25 years, the CMS has been our front door.
Absolutely.
With the acquisition of Scrunch, we decided to create 3 front doors. We want to be able to come in. We have now a market-leading top player in every one of those 3 categories. And so we're going to go to the market at the tip of the spear with a dedicated team built around DAM, a dedicated team built around Scrunch, and a team of generalists that are anchored in the CMS, but understand that the CMS is the center of the universe only because it's the one space that brands completely control on their own.
So with all these potential focuses, right? This space is changing by the minute, by the day, what have you. Let's get out our crystal ball. Let's look out 12 months in the future. Tony, I want to ask you a quick question. Where should organizations or companies be focusing on for the next 12 months?
Without a doubt, I mean, it goes back to the foundational aspect. It's really setting up all that structure so that everything will work with AI and everything will work, with the newest technologies and everything else and all the different doors and, metaphorical doors, things like that. We actually just trademarked a phrase that we're going to use in a campaign for DAM in general and Content Hub, obviously, but it's solve the DAM problem. So, and we have that trademarked. We'll see if it works.
We talked about this about 12, 18 months ago as well. So it's come
We
full
talked
circle.
about this almost 2 years ago. It was my first meeting out in Des Plaines.
And now we've trademarked it. So.
Yeah. So if you use
That's awesome.
you're going to have to pay for it too. So, but that's fine.
I'll use the money from my settlement for IP theft.
Yeah, there you go.
I was the one who's...
Yeah. No, but it's, I came up with that. That's one of the few things I'm good at.
I'll let you buy dinner.
Yeah. Shocking. No, but but all kidding aside, the foundational aspect of everything, the part of the problem is that's really interesting about how this has happened, because I was around when the internet basically, started, and we were early on with everything. And so I saw companies adapt to it. It was easier in a lot of ways back then because everybody was on a clean slate. There wasn't as much data. Companies didn't have a lot of data. They had a file server maybe, and that was about it. I mean, the bigger companies had mainframes and all that, but the data was more simple for the most part. Fast forward 30 years, you've got in your pocket an iPhone that has more capacity and more speed than anything had back then. I mean, it's the equivalent of God only knows how many T1 lines or even T3 lines. So you've got the speed at which all this data can be transferred today instantaneously almost. You've got, the processing and the compute power that's just off the charts. And then you've got all this data out there. And companies don't know what the heck to do with a lot of this stuff. And it almost seems insurmountable if you try to organize it all. So that's where I think the partner network comes in and everything. And the first thing we do with a client is really do a workshop around, okay, what do you want to achieve? What does your current data look like? What products are you on? What can we possibly consolidate? Or what can we integrate into a DAM and everything to make that the source of truth? So I would say in a nutshell, what that foundation should do is create that source of truth. Like, what is it? Doesn't matter where it really is, but start with that and then start building everything around. And then with AI tools and accelerators and everything else, you can get things done more quickly now, much more quickly. The problem is you've got to do it right, because you can also cause a disaster if, the data just starts going everywhere and you've got people accessing data you don't really want them to. So it's a crazy time right now in that regard.
The interesting thing is, with the dawn of AI technology, it's really kind of exposed organizations that didn't have their house in order, right? If they weren't doing the basics well, it's definitely been exposed now. So a lot of the customers we talk to, it's like, what should we do first? Like, well, remember when you used to get a SEO technical foundation in place? Go back to that. Like, that's really a really good starting place as well.
You also have to remember, like, the biggest forcing function in the history of digital technology, other than the creation of the internet itself, was COVID. So anybody who hadn't completed a digital transformation had to kind of rush it to closure because it was a survival strategy. And now, we're 6 years out, almost 7 years out. And
it's been that long.
Like, what we did as a survival mechanism is now sort of reaching its natural end of life. So we have the opportunity to re-examine and do a little bit more thoughtfully what we did in a way that felt very, and so even though the moment right now, the pace of change feels really, really fast, it's not the same as having to get a revenue channel up and running in like a week.
For sure. Makes total sense. So Tony, with everything you just mentioned, source of truth, kind of getting customers back to a good architecture foundation, what investments is AmericanEagle.com making in the Sitecore ecosystem or AI in general right now to help customers?
I heard him say he was buying more Scrunch, so that was one.
Right,
that's
number
Step one.
That's one. No, really making everything faster to get to market. I mean, and with accelerators and things like that, we're doing a ton of work with, even down in the industry. So, if it's a hospital, there's certain accelerators you can work on to make things quicker on the integration fronts, on appointment scheduling. Agentic experiences are, obviously a huge thing right now. Accessibility and making sure that the sites are, accessible and everything that also improves SEO and findability and AEO and GEO also. But basically doing everything we can, to make the customer happier faster. I mean, that's really it, and easier to use on their side, so they don't have to, if there are pain points that they have in getting certain things done, try to alleviate those wherever you can.
Sure. Couple final questions for you guys. Question for both of you. What makes the Sitecore AmericanEagle.com partnership unique?
You first.
I think what makes American Eagle very unique in the space for a product like Sitecore is, when we first started doing all this, we did it all the hard way. So it was all HTML, .NET programming. We also did, LAMP stack programming, things like that. But we never even used a CMS for a while. We never had an e-commerce platform for a while. We just did it. Biggest regret I ever have, people always ask, in some of these conferences you go to, whatever, they're like, what's your biggest regret? I'm like, we should have made a CMS early on and an e-commerce platform, because we had an incredible system. We just never looked at it as a product. But with that said, because we did things the hard way like that, we were really good at working with other platforms. And Sitecore was the first one we worked with out of the gate that was an off-the-shelf product. And we did some incredible things with it. We continue to, but I think that's because of all of our experience with e-commerce, with, custom applications, just doing things that are really, weird or crazy, or nobody even knows who to call for something like that. We're really good at that type of work. And I think that helps push the envelope both for Sitecore and for us. And it just, rising tide lifts all boats sort of thing.
I'm going to tell a quick story. I'm going to tell a story about my favorite person in the world, who's my husband. And we've been together 22 years. I travel anywhere between 3 and 5 nights a week, anywhere between 45 and 48 weeks a year. And when I am home. But if I can't get on a plane, I can't do what I do, and I can't enjoy doing it because this is the way I want to do it. I want to be with people. I want to be with our customers and our partners and our team. And he respects that. He was also a competitive swimmer. He coaches the local swim team. And if he says, hey, I want to coach tonight and I can't get our nanny and I need you for 90 minutes, or can you skip your Saturday run so that I can do a swim lesson? The answer is always yes. And that's because we respect what each other is good at, and we give each other the space for that. And it wasn't until we were together that I really saw the gift in letting people be precisely who they are and accepting them on those terms. I think the relationship works so well is you know and respect what we're great at, and we know and respect what you're great at, and we let each other do that. And that actually shows up not just in our relationship, it shows up in front of the customers. You and I went to visit a customer very, very recently, and that was clear right there in the room. We know what each other is good at. We give each other the space to do it well, and the customer benefits as a result of that.
Couldn't agree more. Final question for you, Eric. What should customers be most excited about with Sitecore this next upcoming year?
There's absolutely no question it's Scrunch. Okay. It is the future. Okay. It is the future. Like traditional search is, even Google admits traditional search is over because it's all AI overviews, it's all AI mode. They've copied the chatbot style of the LLMs. Paying for placement may and probably will resurface in a different way. But at the moment, clarity, brand authenticity is the biggest currency a company has. This platform is the future of brand discovery.
Yeah, love it. Tony, anything to add on that?
No, I think the future is, we're definitely at an inflection point where things are going to really change. There was a great seminar I was at the other day. It was by a guy that wrote the book, The Next Renaissance, and then in Renaissance, the AI part was highlighted. And he gave a great example of AI in general. And he said, part of the problem is that it's like when electricity came out, people went to the World's Fair and they saw the light bulb for the first time. And the reaction was, wow, so that's what electricity is. But electricity is obviously a lot more than that. They never would have seen the iPhone come out, which is also electricity, or, a washing machine or an electric car and stuff like that. So I think we've got to be open-minded in that way, where AI is going to bring things that we can't even comprehend, because like the pay-per-click stuff and everything, that probably will exist in some form, but not in a form that we can even imagine right now. It's going to be something else.
Yeah.
It's going to be like walking down the street and saying, hey, you get a Big Mac on sale for $2 right now, and they're paying for that. You don't even really realize it.
That's the most exciting thing about this. Like when we first experienced the internet, because you and I were born the same year, so we were around at the same time, right? You couldn't have projected. You probably could have guessed something like search, but paid search, social media, retargeting. All of that, like trying to predict what the future of these platforms is like right now is sort of like trying to predict the future of commercial aerospace in the year 1930. Sure. Like there's so much more future in front of it than history. That's the thing that's so exciting about it.
And for both the Sitecores of the world and the AmericanEagle.coms of the world, there's so much opportunity. I mean, it's funny, a lot of friends and stuff and people you meet at parties or whatever, they're like, I assume AI is just completely changing your world. And they almost ask it like they're worried that, you're going to like start crying or something because their whole business is falling apart. I'm like, it's actually the contrary. There's so much opportunity now.
It's
because
booming.
None of these companies know what to do. And we also help them just in governing, how to control this thing and, how to get your arms around it. But it's booming. I mean, it's just going to create more and more. There's definitely people that are going to be left out and they have to adjust. We have to adjust. We're embracing it. But for sure, I don't think there's a person in the IT field who isn't going to have to change their job and their role in some capacity to adjust to this.
100%.
But that doesn't mean that you're out of a job. It also might mean you're actually going to make more money than you did before, because it's just going to bring so much more efficiency. So
delivering more value, faster to customers.
The difference today is, I think I was saying about the speed at which it changes now, is that everything's in place to allow just almost, just a ridiculous amount of change in a ridiculously fast amount of time that never existed before, because
innovation,
you didn't have the capacity.
Well, and everything was pieces, right? We outsourced the complexity to customers. And so we made the products, but they were responsible for the architecture, or primarily what you had to do was integrate stuff together rather than deliver business value. Now that everything is plug and play, where the CDN and the CMS and the DAM and search and personalization, now that's all pre-integrated for you. So now you can actually focus on delivering out.
But other than Sitecore, none of that stuff works right. No, you still need partners that it all works. Right. Yeah. Except
I feel like that was a good exit line.
Yeah, Tony. Exactly. There we go. Give me the hook.
Well, speaking on the behalf of all the listeners, guys, I know you guys have very busy schedules. Really appreciate you both for joining the Water Cooler today, giving your insights. foreshadowing what's about to happen in the tech world. It's always great to see you guys. And Eric, we'll see you in a few short weeks at Sitecore Sales Kickoff.
Thank you.
So
it's good to see you, John.
Yeah, thank you both for joining.
Thanks, John.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Tony.
Eric.
It's good to see you.
Thanks.
Thanks again to Eric Stine, CEO of Sitecore, and Tony Svanascini, CEO of AmericanEagle.com, for joining us today on the Sitecore Water Cooler podcast, a casual conversation between colleagues and peers centered around all things Sitecore. And thanks to everyone for listening in on the Sitecore Water Cooler podcast. Find out more about AmericanEagle.com's Sitecore services and today's topics in the description below. This episode is brought to you by AmericanEagle.com Studios. I'm your host, Jon Price, and special thanks to our executive producers, Renee Nelson, Nicole Giarengo, and Brian Winger.